Hi everyone, thank you for joining us today on the Wedding Edit. I'm so excited today to be talking to Katie, who is the designer and founder of Malarkey Cakes based in London. We're going to have a window into her world of creativity, and I'm so excited to share all of that with you, along with loads of advice and just creative ideas for your wedding cake inspiration, and also just talking about that bespoke journey as well. So I'm going to go on ahead and invite her in just now. There we go. Any second. Here she comes. Yeah.
Hi.
Hello. Hi, Katie. How are you?
I'm okay. How are you doing?
Yeah, good. Thank you. Thanks so much for joining us.
No worries. Good to
We're
be.
really excited.
It involves cake, so people get excited.
Exactly. It's a lovely, industry when it's, sweets, treats and all of that. So yes,
Yeah.
very exciting, very exciting. I was just obviously brief introing you there, but I guess it's just nice to be able to talk in more detail. Obviously, for you to be able to tell us, but you do create the most truly unique and spectacular cakes. I guess the first question is really, could you describe your signature style?
Um. Yeah. It's quite a big description, really. My cakes are inspired by all sorts of things. So, architecture, interior design, fashion, um, anything that's not other cakes, really. I tried to kind of, when I was in the early stages of setting up my business, I decided
Yeah.
that I wanted to make something completely different, completely unique. And so I get inspiration from all over the place, but my cakes are modern, they're stylish, and they're basically more like works of art. You could call them, I suppose, edible centerpieces for weddings and
Yeah.
events, rather than just,
Yeah.
oh, it's a cake. So yeah, that's the kind of the style of them, I guess.
Yeah, there's definitely something outstanding about each and every one, and as we've mentioned, they're all completely unique as well, which is what's so incredible. From an artistic point of view, I completely agree. They really are something very special. Um,
Thank
I
you.
guess, yeah, it's all right. That's why we want you on. Obviously, it's really nice to be able to share with our viewers, people like yourself that have such a creative talent and also go on that bespoke journey with a client. Obviously, we'll get to talk about that as well.
Yeah.
But your design-led approach equally for us is something that is everything we stand for. So that creative edge and, just really reaching out for something other than the obvious within the industry.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. Yes. So how did you become a cake designer?
Well, I've always loved cake, as a lot of people do. I used to bake when I was little with my
Yeah.
granny and my mum, and I sort of always I wanted to always start a business. And then we ended up getting engaged, and um, basically I decided I was going to make my own wedding cake, which a lot of people said, what you're doing, don't do that, you're absolutely crazy. My mum included, my husband included as well.
Really?
um but he obviously saw that I was just, that was it, I was set, and that's what I was going to do. So he actually bought me a wedding cake course. It's like a weekend wedding cake
Oh,
course, and you go
love
along
that.
and learn how to actually properly stack a cake, like a tiered cake.
Yeah.
And I just, that from there, that was it. I just got completely obsessed with it, and I decided that this is what I wanted my creative outlet to be.
Yeah.
And it just sprung from there, really, and it grew from that.
That's so cool. I love that. And if I guess, yeah, no one was going
Yeah,
to stop you do that. I'm sure it was a triumph.
yeah.
Did
It
it
was.
turn out?
It was a bit of an eye opener, because I did graphic design at university, and I never went
Right.
into
Okay.
it because I ended up sort of realizing I'm not a desk person at all.
Yeah.
And so
No.
I went into it a little bit after uni, and then I realized, no, I need a job where I'm up and about and I'm moving around, and every day is different. So it took me a while to find the cake route, but once I found it, I was really, really pleased.
Yeah, no, good on you. That's really exciting. And you also run a cake school as well, obviously to impart all your amazing skills and share the love. That's brilliant.
Yeah, I've been teaching classes for a while because I actually used to be a teacher. So I trained in graphic design, and then I decided I was gonna go into teaching. So that's kind of my background as well. And I started teaching classes at another cake school, and then started teaching classes at home to a few students just in my kitchen. And last year I launched the online school as well, so I teach classes online. I have a number of video classes. So yeah, the school was set up really just to kind of, I suppose, impart my knowledge, and help other cake makers that are potentially where I was about 5 years
Yeah,
ago,
yeah,
to learn, maybe not in such a hard way, such a long-winded way as I
yeah,
did.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Um, and I'm totally open and honest with people over in the school, and I just say it as it is and go, well, things are really, really tough, and that's how it is. But that's the reality of it, because I didn't have anyone to tell me certain things when I
yeah,
started. So yeah, that's really the reason behind me setting it up, and also to teach kind of, that you can be completely creative with making cakes. You don't have to just copy other people's wedding cakes or birthday cakes. You can go off and find your own niche. And actually that's been the secret to my success, really, is just going all out and forgetting about what other people are doing, and finding a niche. So
yeah.
yeah, that's where the school stemmed from.
That's so important. I'm sure you're a huge inspiration to everybody, and nice to be able to give them that insight as well. So yeah, that's fantastic. I think I've got quite a few people who would quite like to do that course, maybe even me one day.
Yeah,
I just
yeah,
enjoy eating cake.
yeah,
um,
that's part of it.
so how long has Malarkey been going?
Well, I couldn't believe this, but a Facebook post came up on my memories the other day, and it was 6 years ago that I made my first attempt at a wedding cake.
Right, yeah,
And
yeah.
I look at it now and I think, oh my God, it was absolutely terrible. What was I doing? But of course, you've got to start somewhere, and
You've got
everyone's
to,
got to start
yes.
somewhere.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So
But
in terms, sorry, go on.
so yeah, around about 6 years. But I think I'd say actually properly as a wedding cake business, probably the last 3 or 4.
Right, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And obviously your wedding cakes are very much a focal point of, the reception, for everybody to enjoy the look of them as well as the taste of them. That's sort of a truly unique experience for everyone as well, isn't it? Is they can, have the photos by it and do all of the cake cutting, but actually get to enjoy something beautiful like that in the room, as a piece of art as well. Have you got anything you can show us? Do you have any examples that we can see?
I
Can you
do.
take us on a little,
Yes.
in,
So I'm just
yeah.
going to spin my screen round and hope everything's going to work for the best. Let's see. Okay. So
Wow.
I've done a little cake set up here for you guys.
Oh,
So
thank
this
you.
is we're currently in my living room, because obviously everyone's working from home at the moment.
Well, this is it.
Well, my husband's working from home as well, and he's stolen my usual spot. So
I stayed to claim in the office, and my husband's been working in the kitchen, but yeah, I still can't believe I bagged it. But these are
yeah,
amazing, they're absolutely beautiful. I mean, as we were talking, they really are works of art. Can you talk us through them?
yeah, so we'll start over here. This is actually an exclusive, because no one's really seen the whole of this cake before.
Hey!
I've done a sneak peek post on it, but I'm due to do a sort of a mini shoot, photo shoot with it next week. So this one, it's I call it a modern art cake. So it's got brush strokes, and it follows a kind of I basically pick up all my inspiration through like different mood boards and things that I find on Pinterest, as well as kind of through fashion magazines and things like that.
Yeah.
So all of them feature all of the kind of big details that you can see there are all made out of wafer paper.
That's so clever.
So it's all folded, and kind of the one at the end here has got kind of like it's called, I've called this a wafer paper cake corsage.
Yeah,
or
I can
like
see that.
wave. So this is all kind of molded together using folded and stuck together basically wafer paper to create that kind of effect. So what I've done with my cakes is I actually tried to move completely away from using flowers. Flowers are beautiful, and I mean, obviously, you know, sugar flowers are stunning,
Yeah,
but they're so labor intensive. They really, really are. And I feel like there's so many people out there that are amazing at making sugar flowers that I decided,
totally agree.
again, when you can have anything on a cake, why have flowers? You can have something
I know.
completely different.
But 100% what you're doing is creating something that no one has seen, and actually everyone can go and get a flower cake if they want one, but actually there's so many people that don't want that, and they want something much more modern art and stand out. You know, every single tier there has got something different. I love the new one, and I'm so excited that it's previewing on Ceremony tonight. That's very exciting for us. But yeah, all of those little paper flowers or pleats, or they literally are like origami, aren't they? They're so meticulous and sharp. Really love those.
Yeah, I'm really into origami, although I'm no good at it, because for some reason, if it doesn't apply to cake, I've got no patience for it. So I've tried really, really hard to make wafer paper origami work for me, and I'm still like, constantly experimenting with it, because wafer paper is very brittle, so it's quite tricky to make it work. So someday, like, I'll just sit down and, you know, go into a zone and go, right, how can I make this work?
That's quite a nice zone, I imagine, to go into.
It is. It's great. It can be so days.
Yeah, I'm sure. The middle one then, down at the bottom, how do you create that kind of almost pleated effect? Is that in icing or?
Wafer paper as well. So that's a completely different.
So that's placed, that's placed over the top to kind of mould around the cake.
Yeah, so all of them, they're first covered in fondant icing, which is like the thick, well, it's actually not that thick now. The olden days, it used to be really, really thick, chunky bits of fondant icing. They're covered in fondant icing, which is modern. It's quite thin. You don't have too much of it now. And then on top of that, you have the painted tiers. And if you look at the bottom tier here, this is all, it's a square white tier, and then it's covered in the wafer paper that's folded.
Ah, I see. That is so sharp. I love it. I really love it. That's totally my favourite one. I'd be hard to choose. And actually someone said, oh my God, how does anyone cut into these? Because they are so gorgeous. They just seem too good to eat.
Yeah, that's what a lot of people say, but I think at the end of the day, it is a cake. It needs to be eaten, and you will get, obviously a lot of nice of your cake on the day. Exactly. So,
and the inside is as good as the outside. I know.
Yeah, well, I have to send you some samples at some point.
Yeah, please. All right then. I've got a question with regards to how long these take, because I know you've got some physical examples there, so it might be kind of nice to know. I know depending on what the whole kind of brief is, you can't just say it always takes the same amount of time, but let's say, you know, the new one, how long would that have taken?
So I'd say on average, a wedding cake will take 2 to 3 days to make. This one here, so 3-tier, this is a small 3-tier that would probably serve around about 80 people.
Okay, that's good.
It's quite tricky to see the scale here.
Yes, yeah.
But a typical cake like this one would probably take around 3 days to make, because you have a baking, and actually the cake will need to cool and it will need to set so that you're able to cut it and then start filling it and everything. So actually it's left to settle overnight. And then once it's covered in icing, it will keep its airtight, and it will keep for as probably up to 3 days at its best.
Okay.
And then I will have basically a decorating day, so an icing day. And then the final day will probably be the wedding day morning, which I'll do some of the finer details. So the wafer paper date I can do later on. So it's basically getting the baking done, because that's kind of a big job, and actually waiting for it to cool down is quite obviously time consuming as well. So on average 2 to 3 days. But if you're talking about a larger cake like this one,
rather large,
3 to 4 days. That's a
oh, I lost you there.
So, oh, I'm back.
Yeah. So how many people does that one feed?
The large one.
Are you there? Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I lost you. Are you back again? How are you doing? How are you doing? Are you there, Katie? Hello, hello. I can hear you actually. Can you hear me?
Hi.
Hello.
I'm here.
Hiya. Hi. I think you're back now. Can you hear me? Oh dear. We've got movement, so I'm hopeful.
I'm still here.
Oh, you keep... Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Is this one?
Hello. Few technical glitches. That's all right. I might just check if there's any comments. Just while Katie's obviously trying to get herself back on, if anyone's got any questions about wedding cakes and wants to know, then yeah, just pop them in the comments box and we'll do our best to answer them. Hello, are you back again? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Hello?
I can hear you.
We're back. Yes, I think we're all right now. These things happen, never mind. So, are you back? Are you definitely back? Oh dear. I'm not sure how this is going to pan out. Let's have a little look. Are we all right? Are we good to go? Oh dear. Okay, so I'm just going to drop a comment. Perhaps Katie can see my comment and see if she can get back on. Oh, I think you're back again.
Oh, we're back again? I've switched to 4D. It might help.
Yeah, that sounds good. That sounds good. Are we all right now?
Yeah, I can't see you, but we can definitely carry on.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, very strange.
Can everybody see me okay? If someone could put a comment, I feel like it possibly is your side, but I'm seeing you frozen right now.
Oh, really?
Oh no, you're back again. Right, okay, let's just go for it. Let's go for it.
Yeah.
I'm not sure whether you're able to show us any of your digital drawings, because I know you have a process that you always create those and they look incredible. But right now with the glitches, I'm not sure.
Yeah, but I can definitely talk you through it.
Yeah,
and then we can give it a go.
Yeah, let's do that first.
Actually, let's just try. Let's see if yeah.
it's just the way these things roll, you know, technology, and we're all trying to,
Oh,
like,
I know.
it maybe the wrong time of day. There we go, let's talk.
Okay, can you see the screen here?
Yes, it's not like obviously the ultimate image, like as in clear, but people will get an idea, I think.
Okay, well, here's just a couple of examples of cake sketches that I create. So I create, because of my graphic design background, I
Yes.
create all of my sketches in Photoshop and Illustrator. So I use kind of photo images put together with illustration to kind of create CGI images.
Fantastic.
And then kind of label them and give the client basically an idea of how the cake is going to look, including things like dimensions, what cake flavors will be inside, and what all the details are. So there's a couple of examples there.
It's amazing. They really are. They're works of art in themselves, actually. And do the clients get to keep those? I bet they're quite nice mementos to have.
They do, yeah. And actually, what I want to start doing is sending them kind of as anniversary presents. So maybe as a first anniversary present, they can have
that's such a nice idea.
A framed version of their cake sketch, which is quite nice. So yeah, they get to keep these forever, obviously, as well.
That's so special. I love that. That is so nice. So how long does the process working with the client, how long does that take?
I'm going to switch you around again.
Yeah, go for it.
So it really depends. Some people inquire maybe, you know, a couple of years ahead. But really the process is that we'll firstly go through what's possible and what's doable, and we'll also talk about budgets as well. That's something really, really important to talk about from the beginning.
For sure.
And then we'll sit down, and in usual circumstances we would have a cake tasting. I'm not obviously offering cake tastings at the moment, but I am happy to send out taster boxes to clients. Yes. So they can at least get an idea of what flavors I have and what's on offer. And then we can do kind of Zoom calls or Skype calls. At the moment, that's the best tasting that I can offer. Yeah. And then from that, I'll put all the ideas that I get from them together, because usually at the meeting it's also an opportunity to put together exactly what they want into a kind of a rough sketch. Sure. And then from that, I will go off and I will create their cake sketch. They might have one sketch depending on how certain they are about what they want. Some couples might want to see a couple of alternatives, and obviously look at pricing as well of the two alternatives. And then from there, once they've made their decision, then of course it depends on the lead time before, you know, before the wedding and everything. So it can range from a couple of years down to, I think we've turned around in 3 weeks before. So,
wow. Okay, wow on both ends. So what would you say is a comfortable time frame in an ideal world for you, and you know, you think for couples to be thinking?
In an ideal world, I mean, I think the way things usually run, and what in my experience how things go with the industry, the cake tends to be one of the things that comes later on. So people tend to think of obviously venue first, photographer, dress, and cake. It can be an afterthought for a lot of people, or something they leave quite late. But what ideally, it's I suppose 6 months to a year before is best. Mainly because obviously peak season, it books up really far in advance, and then a lot of people are fighting for dates in July, August. So yeah, it's just ASAP is the ideal.
And I guess frame. Like you say, those things follow, or cake ordering follows other things, but actually that's quite an essential element, because you know your venue, you know your climate and the environment that it's going to be sitting in amongst, and actually those are really important things for the design, aren't they? There's probably
Yeah.
so many things that you would talk to the clients about considering, such as, how tall the ceilings are, or kind of, as I mentioned, like the climate. Those are really important factors.
Yeah, definitely. And actually, it's great for me because, if someone has, they really want one of my cakes, but they don't know where they're getting married yet, I would normally say, well, let's pencil your date in, but come back to me when you've got a venue, because, I can take inspiration from the architecture, the interior, of the venue, and so many other aspects of the wedding itself as well. So the styling, maybe the colors of the bridesmaids' dresses, any little details like that I can take inspiration from. I guess the more the better, really. So
Yes.
yeah, the venue kind of, like you mentioned as well, so if it's a little cozy venue, you're fine with a smaller wedding cake. But if you've got a big room that's quite grand, that lends itself to a much taller cake, then obviously you don't want a tiny cake that's going to get stuck up there. So loads and loads of things to consider with the design.
But then working with you, obviously, as a creative and a designer, that's quite a nice process for someone that hasn't got maybe a Pinterest board of ideas, or they don't really know, how to evolve from, maybe the concept of their dress or their venue into cake form. So yes, it's great that you offer such an all-round service for that.
Yeah.
So can we talk flavours? I know that you have an extensive menu of flavours. I've had a look on the website, which, by the way, is an amazing website. Everyone should go check it out. There's so much information on there. It's brilliant. So yes, you offer different flavours for every tier. I mean, anything's possible, right? I guess we can't go through all of those flavours, but what are your top 5 maybe, or your more popular ones, or maybe some of the ones that you feel are important to talk about that maybe stand out?
Well, I do offer quite a number of flavours, and that's mainly down to my kind of, I think if I was getting married again, I'd want a big selection of flavours to choose from.
Yeah.
Also, I think it's important to kind of cover all bases. So in terms of different types of flavors, so you've got your lemon cake fans, for example. Some people are chocolate cake people. Other people are really anti-chocolate cake people, who I don't get at all. I'm firmly
I had a chocolate cake for my wedding, but I'm not a chocolate cake person, but I gave in to my husband because I had my way on everything else. But right. I did choose the style. We kind of worked on it creatively in terms of the style, but yeah, he got the chocolate. I would have gone lemon.
Okay, that's interesting. So yeah, I mean, like you said, I do offer up to 3 flavors. They can actually have more than 3, depending on if they're having 5 or 6 cake tiers. They could have different cake flavors in each one. But the only thing I say then is it can get quite confusing and quite complicated for their guests. So I usually recommend of 3. And also there's to kind of consider as well that you're going to have different cake tiers that are different sizes as well. So I always recommend that the couple choose their favorite and put that one in the biggest tier, or potentially choose one that they think is going to be a crowd pleaser and make sure that one is the biggest tier, because they know it's going to go.
That's really good.
Yeah, so lots of things to think about with cake flavors. But my most popular ones, the number 1 is lemon and blueberry, and that's a really, really popular flavor. Lots of people really love that. I would say probably 99% of the people who choose that as a flavor to try at their tasting session go ahead with it as their flavor. Wow. Yeah. So that's a really, really, and I think it's obviously a lemon cake, but it's got the fresh blueberries in there as well, and it's a very nice kind of fresh and light summery cake that people think, well, it's not too heavy, and it's if you're serving it after a 3-course meal, it's not going to be too much. So So that's the top flavor, but there are other favorites as well. So I do one, what's it called, the raspberry ripple one. So a lot of my flavors are based on kind of
nice.
nostalgic ice cream and British desserts. So there's raspberry ripple. Neapolitan as well is a really popular one, which is actually a stripy sponge. And then a sticky toffee pudding one.
Nice.
And then chocolate orange is really, really popular as well. That's actually one of my favourites. Wow. I've got quite a lot of favourites.
I bet you do. They all sound totally delicious. And yes, to the tasting box. That sounds great. Yeah. So obviously at the moment, tasting is something you can send out, but it's not obviously ideal. You'd normally be face to face. Is that correct? Is that what you'd said earlier?
Yeah, so obviously at the moment with the whole situation that's going on, I am able to mail out cake samples to couples.
Yes.
They can basically choose out of the menu that I have on my website. They can choose 4 flavors. I'll send them out a box, and then they can tell me what they think. And then we can obviously do the design consultation on Zoom or Skype. So things unfortunately aren't working as they would be, but that's the next best thing.
But that's fantastic that obviously for now people can still be moving forward, and you know, wherever you taste it, whether it's in your home or one-to-one, you're still going to get obviously the ultimate result of making that decision. So it's great that you're offering that service. There's a comment from Cake Art Leicester that their mouth is watering and they're loving all the flavors. Yeah, we've got a lot of love for the flavour combinations there. So can we talk about what your price point is? Obviously, you know, I'm sure there's an upward scale depending on what you choose, but what do your prices start from?
Yeah, so my minimum order amount is $695, and that price is roughly based on a 3-tier cake, although that would be quite a basic 3-tier cake. And then from that, because basically everything I make is completely bespoke. All the cakes I make are completely different. You know, if a potential client would send me a photo, for example, and ask me how much is this cake, it actually depends, because it depends on how many servings they'll need.
Sure.
It depends on, you know, what size they want the cake to actually be. There are so many variables.
Yeah,
but yeah, I do have that as a minimum order amount that I'm able to, you know, start making a cake and designing a cake for.
Yeah, I think that's really good though. I mean, for you, you know, you're saying that's your basic, but actually your creative is surely up on that level where you're not going to feel it's basic in any way. But yes, that's an amazing start point, I think. And those people that really have to work out their budget, you know, depending on what they want, if they do want that all-out cake, like me, I gave into the chocolate, but we still had something that was so beautiful. And actually, from a budgeting point of view, we served it as our pudding rather than having an extra dessert course, and then actually also giving it out. Sometimes it's not the nicest thing to chop up and pop up in, you know, in bits of napkins, or boxes could make it nice, but I think it's quite nice to serve as a dessert as well. So that's always a good option, isn't it, from a budgeting point of view, so that you get the ultimate thing that you're looking for.
Absolutely. And I work really closely with my clients on that, and that's one of the things I always bring up at tasting sessions, at consultations, because like I find it quite heartbreaking that the idea that cake can go to waste.
Yeah.
I mean, I've heard some horror stories from photographers that I've worked with,
and
they say the cake doesn't get eaten, and you think no. I absolutely 100% make sure with my clients that they, you know, put everything into place that the cake is going to get eaten, and serving it as a dessert is a really, really good way to do that. So things to consider with that though is obviously the cake is going to need to be larger. And I cater for what we call standard portions, which are standard wedding portions, which you would serve after a 3-course meal.
Yes.
And then there are also dessert size portions, which are slightly larger. and allow obviously for everybody to have a slice of cake that's a bit larger, and probably allow for a bit extra as well.
That's
like
a really
left.
good tip actually for people that are thinking to do that, because yeah, you don't want to end up giving the skinniest little slice, do you? You want to be able to give it to them and they feel like that's their nice dessert, and you know, enjoy
Yeah,
the different
exactly.
flavour or what have you.
Yeah, and I think it's so important that, you know, the cake is, you know, there to be beautiful and there to be admired and ceremoniously cut and everything. But it's also, you know, if couples are spending the money on a cake, I do genuinely want them to be able to enjoy it and to eat it as well. So I always say to them, make a time, you know, make a point of cutting the cake, but also make a time for serving the cake as well, and make sure that all of your guests actually know that the cake's being served. Because I've been to lots of weddings where, you know, the cake gets sort of cut up and put in the corner and nobody knows it's there. So it's really worth kind of announcing the cake, if you like. People are we're serving the cake, and or making a moment for it, like a cake and cocktail moment or something like
nice.
that. What
Yes.
I recommend.
I love that idea, definitely. I mean, these kind of creations need to be celebrated and enjoyed as definitely a part of the process of the evening to celebrate too. Yeah, lovely.
Yeah.
So in terms of size and deciding, obviously you've mentioned cake portions and also venues and kind of the size of the height, but do you have people that literally just want big extreme cakes, and you know, can you take it home afterwards, or you know, does it have a shelf life?
Well, yeah, I get all sorts, to be honest. I do get people who they just want a humongous cake, and they don't mind what it takes. They just say, yeah, huge. I want it to be like walk in the room, enormous. So it really depends on, again, so many variables, but I tend to calculate things in terms of number of guests. That's how I tend to calculate the sizing of the cake.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there aren't really strictly rules, because they might be having, say, 100 guests, and the sort of standard sizing of a cake for 100 guests could be a 3-tier cake. But then they might like the look of a tall 5-tier cake, in which case you scale down the sizing of the tiers and make a 5-tier cake to serve 100 people. So it really varies. You can also use fake tiers, which you know, unless you want your cake to serve 500 people or have lots of leftover.
But that's great. So you can build up those tiers so you can get that aesthetic that you're looking for with those dummy layers, and then obviously you're still serving the amount ultimately that you need to, not over, which could equally be much more expensive.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry.
No, sorry.
I was just going to say as well, you mentioned about taking cake home, and actually a lot of couples, they ask for a cake that's it's too big on purpose, because they want to take some home and they want to serve it to their guests on the following day, because they might have a lot of family around. And some couples just want to keep the top tier for themselves, because they're fully aware that they might not get any cake on the day. So a lot of couples are really happy with the leftovers.
Oh, that's sweet. And just one other thing on the height to mention is the cake stand, because it shouldn't be, you know, created all this amazing modern, you know, cake art and then putting it onto the most simplest basic stand. I guess the cake stand is equally important, not just aesthetically, but to give you extra height as well. Do you give choice about how that is, how you balance that out?
Yeah, so I as part of my kind of my service, my package, I offer cake stands to couples that I recommend specific cake stands to them that I think will really complement their cake design and the shape and the size of the cake as well. Because a lot of the time cake stands are provided at some venues, but they can be quite sort of old and traditional, and I've been asked to set cakes on broken cake stands and things in the past, which isn't a bit of a nightmare. Yeah, so I do tend to advise my couples on cake stands that are perfectly suit the cake that they're going for. They're more modern. I can always change the color of them and customize them as well. And that's something that if you maybe go for a slightly shallower cake, it's not so tall, you can really add height and a bit more drama to a cake with a nice cake stand as well.
Yeah. And also, ideally, you would like to be setting up with everything there, that you're not, as you say, using someone else's cake stand and not really knowing what to expect. So it sounds like a good way forward to keep the cake looking the way it's meant to. So in terms of setup, can we just kind of touch on delivery and setup? Do you, I guess, firstly, actually, is how far do you deliver? I mean, what's your scope? And then let's talk about the setup element.
Yeah, so for delivery, well, cakes actually travel quite well. A lot of people believe, and they see, seeing TV shows on how disastrous it can be when you're delivering cakes. And I'm not going to lie, it can be quite scary, but I tend to deliver my cakes when they haven't been stacked yet. So I deliver them tier by tier and stack the cake at the venue, because then that allows me to travel a bit further. It allows me to stay a bit calmer in the car as well on delivery. But it's also, generally my delivery area is London, Greater London, the South East. But I tend to deliver a lot of cakes to areas like the Cotswolds, to Essex specifically as well. But really I can actually deliver all over. It's just, there is a cost there, of course, to
naturally
consider. Yeah.
But then if someone wants a Malarkey cake, then
Yeah, exactly. I think the furthest away I've delivered a cake is, I think it was Lancashire, so it's pretty far.
My hometown.
Oh, really? Okay.
Not for a long time. All right. So so you can travel. I think that's a good bit of information, obviously, for those that maybe aren't London based. It's it's good to know.
Yeah, I think so. And actually, I think a lot of people don't realise that cakes travel quite well, especially the fully iced cakes that I make. They travel really well. So yeah, travelling a bit further away isn't actually an issue for me at all.
Fantastic. Wow. So we've covered so much, I think. Is there anything that I haven't asked you that you kind of burst in to share with us, or you want to give us a quick look at the cakes again before we wrap up?
Yeah, I can spin the camera around. We can have a look.
For anyone that joined a bit later, they might not have seen your beauties. Yeah. Do you work with trends? Do you kind of forecast what you're likely to kind of be working for? I know everything is so unique, but you look at all sorts of inspiration sources, don't you?
I do. I don't tend to follow trends as much. I sort of, it's just anything that leaps out at me and goes, whoa, that could be a cake. Which is a lot of things, but like I said earlier, it's fashion, graphic design, architecture, interiors that inspire me, but sometimes it will just be a kind of a colorway that I'll see, or a combination of colors, and I think, oh, that will really, really work well on a cake.
Yeah. They are all individual and stand out in their own right. I just totally love them. I can stare at them all day.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you so much. It's been amazing to see these creations, and also obviously to talk to you about all the creative. And you know, for anyone that's thinking about going on that bespoke journey with obviously a cake designer like yourself, I completely recommend the whole thing and you guys. It's fantastic. I love it, love it.
Oh, thank you so much. It's been so lovely to talk to you.
And thanks everyone for watching, and just so you know, it will be available on IGTV and available further down the line on our blog. So thanks so much for joining, and if anyone does have any questions that they didn't get to ask, then just pop them over to us, DM us, and we'll obviously pass them over to Katie as well. All right, thanks so much, take care, enjoy the rest of your day.